Tonight, the dangerous record-breaking heat. 103 in Newark, 102 in Boston. Record set in New York City. Roads buckling. A woman discovered dead in her home. No power. 20 people hit by lightning, including a dozen children, and a lifeguard impaled on the beach. This record-breaking multi-day heat wave. More than 130 million Americans on alert again tonight. From Louisiana all the way up to New York, right into New England. The number of emergency room patients soaring. 20 people hit in a heat-fueled lightning strike, 12 of them children, and that woman dying discovered after days without power. Tonight at the NATO summit with world leaders, President Trump pushing back on that preliminary intelligence report that said Iran's nuclear program was set back by only a few months after the U.S. strikes. What the president is now saying tonight, and the moment today when the NATO chief referred to President Trump as daddy. How the president responded. The midair scare, flames and smoke seen shooting from an American Airlines passenger jet. Booms heard on the ground. Flames shooting from an engine. 159 people on board. In New York City tonight, the political shocker in the Democratic primary for mayor. A 33-year-old self-described Democratic socialist, State Assemblyman Zohran Mamdani, defeating nearly a dozen candidates, including former Governor Andrew Cuomo. The reverberations tonight for the Democratic Party across the country are voters sending a message. And what the winner told our Rachel Scott about the issue of affordability in New York City and the country. Tonight, the home explosion, the injuries, including multiple firefighters. 10 fire departments rushing to the scene. The terrifying moment, the apartment fire, the woman forced to decide whether she would toss her baby from that window. Good Samaritans pleading with her. And late today, there's news of an Amber Alert coming in for 2 missing children now, a brother and sister. Police believe they were taken by car. Their mother tonight pleading for their return. And the NBA draft tonight right here on ABC. All eyes on some rising stars, including the pride of Maine.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us here on a very busy Wednesday night. We begin tonight with the dangerous, life-threatening heat, the third day in a row, and it's now been deadly. More than 130 million Americans on alert tonight from Louisiana up through New York, right up into New Hampshire. A Missouri woman found dead after days without power. 20 people struck by a heat-fueled lightning strike, 12 of them children. Tonight, take a look at the heat index map, the feel-like readings when you factor in humidity as well. 100 in Norfolk at this hour, 104 in Philadelphia, 96 in New York City. Philadelphia, Boston, New York City, all breaking records in this heat wave. New York City reporting a spike in emergency room visits because of this heat. Outside Philadelphia, hazmat crews responding in sweltering conditions to a roof collapse and ammonia release at a commercial food facility. It's unclear tonight if heat contributed to the collapse, but emergency crews across this country answering these calls in this heat. And in South Carolina, a single bolt of heat-fueled lightning striking a lake, injuring 20 swimmers, including those 12 children. Meteorologist Lee Goldberg is here with the forecast when this finally breaks, and now the storm's coming right after. And ABC's Janai Norman tonight with the emergencies now playing out after several days of this record-breaking heat.
Tonight, grueling temperatures taking a toll. Newark, 103. Boston, 102. Providence, 100. Multiple all-time June heat records shattered this week. In Philadelphia, it felt like 106, the third day in a row of triple digits.
It's so hot. It's extra hot. It's like 1,000 degrees out here, figure of speech, but it's hot.
Commuters there sweating the heat and the delays. Trains slowed over fears of warped tracks and those overhead wires.
Those can sag in this extreme heat. And if you're going too fast, the trains can sometimes snag that and pull those wires down.
Outside Philly, hazmat crews braving the heat, responding to a roof collapse and ammonia release at a commercial food facility in Upper Deerfield Township, New Jersey. It's unclear if the heat contributed to the collapse. Emergency rooms in New York City seeing a spike in ER visits. Officials say the heat put 112 people in the emergency room Tuesday.
So after days of this kind of heat, construction crews like this, they're taking breaks more often just to stay safe.
Outside St. Louis, a 55-year-old woman was found dead Monday after going days without electricity. West of Columbia, South Carolina, 20 people hurt, including 12 children, after lightning struck near the Lake Murray Dam. And for so many hitting the beach for relief, a warning to secure those umbrellas. In Asbury Park, New Jersey, a female lifeguard's shoulder impaled by a flying beach umbrella. She's expected to survive.
And New Yorkers asked to continue conserving energy. But, David, there is light at the end of the tunnel. Temperatures expected to break tonight. And, David, it'll feel 20 degrees cooler by tomorrow.
We can see the smile tonight, Janai. That's an improvement from the last couple of nights. We sure do appreciate it. You out there in this heat. Let's get right to Chief Meteorologist Lee Goldberg, WABC. Also, right up on the roof tonight. Lee, these temperatures set to drop. Of course, everyone wants to know how soon and then for how long.
All right, so we're in the home stretch of this brief and intense heat wave, David. We're already seeing some storms just to the north and west of New York City, but still melting here in Manhattan. Well, those storms are coming in tonight, and we have some heat alerts still from the Gulf Coast into the Northeast. Remember, we set all-time June records across the Northeast, and the feel-like readings this evening still in the 90s and 100s. And it's another dangerous night because the heat just doesn't drop. There's no relief. We still feel like 80s and 90s tomorrow morning, but then the heat really comes in. I mean, Boston will be off their peak readings by about 30 degrees tomorrow. In the 70s, even 60s on Friday. New York into the 70s, maybe 60s Friday. D.C. actually gets into the 80s. Then we have severe weather. Now, there's severe storms over Pennsylvania with that heat breaking, but there's also severe thunderstorm warnings and tornado warnings across southeastern Minnesota. There are more storm warnings across the Carolinas right now. So, David, these storms come together and move into the Northeast, and they help the cool down as we go into the weekend. Bring on the relief.
That's
David?
right. No question about that, Lee. We appreciate it. Tonight at the NATO summit, President Trump with world leaders pushing back on that preliminary intelligence report that had said Iran's nuclear program was set back by only a few months after those U.S. strikes. What the president is now saying tonight, and the moment today, when the NATO chief referred to President Trump as daddy. How the president responded. Our chief White House correspondent, Mary Bruce, traveling with the president.
Tonight on the world stage with America's NATO allies, President Trump insisting the U.S. strikes on Iran decimated the Iranian nuclear program, rejecting a preliminary Pentagon report that sources say showed the program was only set back months.
It was very successful. It was called obliteration.
But sources tell us the early intelligence from the Pentagon indicates at least 2 of the Iranian nuclear facilities targeted were not completely destroyed, and that Iran moved much of its stockpile of near weapons-grade uranium before the U.S. struck, but the president rejecting that conclusion.
We think we hit them so hard and so fast they didn't get to move.
Tonight, the Defense Intelligence Agency, which produced the report, calling it a preliminary low-confidence assessment, not a final conclusion. The president today actually reading Israel's intelligence, which concludes the U.S. bunker-buster bombs that hit Iran's main nuclear enrichment facility, Fordo, destroyed the site's critical infrastructure and rendered the enrichment facility inoperable. And today, that remarkable moment, NATO's Secretary General calling Trump daddy as the president described his approach to Iran and Israel, Trump seeming to enjoy it.
They're not going to be fighting each other. They've had it. They've had a big fight, like 2 kids in a schoolyard. You know, they fight like hell. You can't stop them. Let them fight for about 2-3 minutes, then it's easy to stop them.
And then Daddy has to sometimes do strong language.
You have to use strong language. Every once in a while, you have to use a certain word.
Looking ahead, the president announcing the U.S. will resume talks with Iran next week.
We're going to talk to them next week with Iran. We may sign an agreement. I don't know. To me, I don't think it's that necessary. I mean, they had a war, they fought, now they're going back to their world. I don't care if I have an agreement or not. I said, Iran will not have nuclear. Well, we blew it up. It's blown up to kingdom come. And so I don't feel very strongly about it.
And David, while the president says they plan to talk, no face-to-face meetings between the administration and the Iranians appear to be set. We're told Trump's special envoy to the region, Steve Witkoff, has no travel related to this on the books. And tonight, Iran has not acknowledged any talks. David.
It's been quite a NATO summit. Mary Bruce traveling with the president. Mary, thank you. Back here in the U.S. tonight to the midair scare just after takeoff in Las Vegas. Flames and smoke could be seen shooting from an American Airlines passenger jet. Booms heard on the ground. You'll see the flames here shooting from the engine with 159 people on board. Here's ABC's Moran Lenghi tonight.
Tonight, alarming video showing flames and smoke shooting out of this American Airlines jet mid-flight.
American 1665, same tension. Looks like you have some flames coming out of the engine.
Yeah, we're going to have to return.
The Airbus A321 took off from Las Vegas this morning, headed for Charlotte. The crew reporting an engine issue just after takeoff, forcing an immediate turnaround.
There was a loud boom. It caused me to immediately look up.
Mark Jackson filmed this video after first thinking he'd heard fireworks.
it was still very low to the ground. So I immediately was like, oh my gosh, I'm about to witness a plane crash.
American Airlines says the aircraft experienced a mechanical issue. It returned to the airport and taxied to the gate under its own power, where its 153 passengers deplaned normally, adding the aircraft was taken out of service to be evaluated by our maintenance team.
Well, David, this type of incident usually signifies a compressor stall or a plane striking a bird or other debris. The FAA is now investigating.
Moran Lenghi with us tonight here. Mola, thank you. We turn next tonight to the home explosion outside Columbus, Ohio. Multiple injuries reported, including several firefighters, 10 fire departments rushing to the scene. Here's ABC's Stephanie Ramos.
Tonight, multiple people injured, including 3 firefighters, after this fiery home blast in Ohio, just outside of Columbus.
I have a report of a house explosion. Caller advised that the house is partially collapsed.
Flames and thick smoke smothering the house before 7 a.m. today.
I heard this boom, and I thought, geez, did something run into a house or something? So I came to the front door, and I looked across the street at their house, and it was half gone.
First responders finding a woman and a man outside the home, the man with extensive burns. Both were taken to the hospital. Fire crews working to extinguish the inferno when this second explosion went off.
We just had another explosion. We have multiple firefighters hurt.
Debris from the blast injuring 3 firefighters. Their conditions were not immediately known. Tonight, authorities say the explosions appear to be accidental.
David, the cause of the explosion is under investigation, but a spokesperson for the gas company says the blast was not due to natural gas. David.
Stephanie Ramos. Steph, thank you. Now to the active manhunt late today outside Los Angeles in Santa Monica. Shots fired at a popular mall, an officer injured, and then officers with long guns searching for the suspect. Trevor Ault with the images coming in from Los Angeles.
Tonight, the massive police response after an officer was injured during a shooting at a popular shopping mall in Santa Monica. It happened near a parking garage, setting off the manhunt. Police and SWAT teams swarming the scene, a helicopter hovering above, officers with long guns searching for a suspect at the 3rd Street Promenade.
They were running around, they were checking the upstairs, the downstairs. They had their guns out.
And late today, authorities arresting a person who they believe is the suspect, saying that wounded officer suffered non-life-threatening injuries. Investigators believe the suspect was also involved in the shooting of 2 teenagers in a Waymo vehicle earlier this week.
And David, the authorities just lifted the lockdown here at the mall just moments ago. There are still a ton of law enforcement vehicles on scene. It's been a terrifying scene here in a very popular portion of Santa Monica. David?
Trevor Ault with the late details. Trevor, thank you. In New York City tonight, the political shocker in the Democratic primary for mayor, a 33-year-old self-described Democratic Socialist, State Assemblyman Zohran Mamdani, defeating nearly a dozen candidates, including former Governor Andrew Cuomo, sending reverberations through the Democratic Party across the country. Are voters sending a message? Rachel Scott interviewing the winner tonight and what he said about affordability in New York City and the country.
Tonight, the political earthquake in America's largest city reverberating for Democrats across the country.
Tonight, we made history.
33-year-old Zohran Mamdani, who just weeks ago was a little-known state assemblyman, pulling off an upset win in the Democratic primary for mayor.
We have given our city permission to believe again.
Mamdani defeating former Governor Andrew Cuomo, who was hoping for a political comeback after resigning in disgrace amid a sexual harassment scandal.
Tonight is his night. He deserved it. He won.
Mamdani's campaign laser focused on making New York more affordable, a strategy he tells me could be a blueprint for Democrats.
I think there's a question of how we return back to what made so many of us proud to be Democrats.
How do you do that?
And I think it's that focus on an economic agenda, on ensuring that people can do more than just struggle.
Mamdani, who proudly calls himself a Democratic Socialist, campaigned on freezing rent, making buses free, and opening city-run supermarkets. In November, he'll face the city's current mayor, Eric Adams.
He's a snake oil salesman. He will say and do anything to get elected.
Adams was indicted on corruption charges, which were later dismissed by the Trump administration. Trump going on the attack.
So President Trump just weighed in and called you a communist lunatic. What do you say to that?
You know, this is not the first time that President Trump is going to comment on myself. He ran a presidential campaign in part speaking about the necessity of making groceries cheaper and to make cost of living more navigable for so many. He's shown himself uninterested and unable to deliver on that.
Former Governor Andrew Cuomo has conceded the primary, but he's not out of the race just yet. He is now weighing his options, considering whether to still run as an independent in the general election, David.
Rachel, good to have you in New York tonight. Thank you. One more note overseas tonight. There was a moment from the NATO summit that's making news tonight between President Trump and a Ukrainian journalist. The reporter asking him if the U.S. is open to selling anti-air missile systems to Ukraine. The president then asked her if she lived there, and then he asked her about her husband. And here's how it played out.
Are you living yourself now in Ukraine?
My husband is there.
Wow.
And
I can see you very, it's amazing.
And me with the kids, I'm in Warsaw actually, because he wanted me to be.
Is your husband a soldier? No?
He's
there now?
Yeah.
Wow. That's rough stuff, right? That's tough. And you're living here?
In Warsaw.
That's a very good question. And I wish you a lot of luck. I mean, I can see it's very upsetting to you. So say hello to your husband, okay? Thank you.
The president and that Ukrainian journalist today. The president also did meet with President Zelensky afterward, the president signaling a willingness to send Patriot missiles to Ukraine. When we come back on this busy news night, an executive for DoorDash and his parents killed in a boating accident. What happened in those rough waters? Also, a woman is forced to make the decision whether to toss her baby from a burning apartment building. The Good Samaritans below begging her to, and you'll see it in a moment here. Next tonight, a DoorDash executive and his parents among 8 people now killed in a boating accident. Josh Pickles, his mother Paula, and father Terry all died when their boat capsized in Lake Tahoe. Officials say thunderstorms and powerful waves moved in as the group went boating. They were celebrating their mother's birthday on that boat that the family owned. Tonight, we're also tracking a new Amber Alert in Idaho, an urgent search at this hour for 2 teenagers, a brother and a sister. Authorities are looking for 13-year-old Alan Fisher and his sister, 15-year-old Rachel. Their mother, Elizabeth Roundy, says someone hauled her teens away in a car outside a store in Montview. Police say someone might be taking those teens to an FLDS group, a religious group in Utah. They are looking for a gray Honda or Hyundai tonight, a sedan with Utah plates. When we come back here tonight, that mother who had to make that decision about whether to throw her baby from high up in a burning apartment building and the Good Samaritans below. And tonight, the NBA draft live right here on ABC. The top prospect causing a lot of buzz, the Pride of Maine tonight in a moment. To the index tonight in the terrifying moment when a woman had to decide whether to throw her baby into the arms of rescuers from a burning apartment building. Take a look at the woman making that split-second decision, tossing the baby as flames grew in the apartment building there in Cleveland. The baby was caught by the Good Samaritans. Both the baby and mother are okay tonight. 5 other people were injured. Officials say an explosion in the building caused the fire. Tonight, scientists say swarms of aggressive killer bees are on the move and spreading across the U.S. The honeybees are now found in 13 states, primarily in the South. The bees thriving in arid climates, appearing to be advancing northward as the weather warms up. Researchers say Oregon, the Great Plains, and southern Appalachian areas could see swarms in the coming years. When we come back here tonight, excitement building at this hour for the NBA draft. It'll be live here on ABC and all eyes on one superstar forward who's getting a lot of the hype.
ABC World News Tonight with David Muir, sponsored by Librela. See the difference.
Finally tonight here, the NBA draft. You saw it right here live on ABC. Rhiannon Alley is there tonight on the rising stars whose lives just changed. Rhiannon.
David, tonight lives were changed and history was made at night 1 of the NBA draft here at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. And joining a list of first-round draft picks, a very elite list, 18-year-old Duke University star forward Cooper Flagg going to the Dallas Mavericks, who had the first pick. Dylan Harper was the second pick. And if that name sounds familiar to NBA fans, it's because his dad is 5-time NBA champ Ron Harper. Dylan and his teammate at Rutgers University, Ace Bailey, made history. The duo is the first pair of Rutgers teammates to be selected in the same first round, both going in the top 5. It was certainly a night to remember for these players and their families. More lives will be changed tomorrow night at night 2 of the draft. David.
All right, thanks, Rhiannon, right there at the draft tonight for us. I'm David Muir. I'll see you right back here tomorrow. Good night.
Thank you for making World News Tonight with David Muir, America's most watched newscast.